All right, hey everyone, this is Ash. Welcome back to the King's Speech. So usually because I am a One Piece pariah, I don't typically get spoiled on a lot of chapter events and things throughout the week, so I'm kind of lucky in that way. Except for this week, there was just an unreasonable amount of people talking about Shitji, which I assume has to do something to do with today's chapter, given what happened at the end of the last one. So I'm already kind of going into this drain thinking about the fact we're going to talk about him. It doesn't help that apparently the cover page features him as well. So it is what it is. We'll see what happens. But without further ado, let's dive into One Piece chapter 997 Flames by Ichiro Oda, translation by Stephen Paul, lettering by Vanessa Satone. And we have reader request, a raccoon dog priest smacking Sanji's shoulders because he's too distracted for Zen meditation by Michi Nakahara from Totori. And you see that Shitji is apparently trying to meditate while Nami's playing volleyball outside. So he's probably getting distracted by all the bounce, jiggle, jiggle. Of course. And we see third floor of the castle. It's like, and you hear, but it's so naughty. And you hear, I can hear it. There's a woman calling for help. God. All right. It's like, come, my dear. It's like, you mustn't. It's like, come, my dear. Please stop, my lord. It's so naughty. And you see, I think a bunch of people pointed this out last week that they're. Oh, my God. Good Lord, I do not need this today. Some people pointed out last week there's apparently like a famous skit in Japanese culture where they do the thing where the shogun or lord or whatever is like doing perverted things. And he's trying to disrobe a woman by pulling on her kimono. So she's Shitji, these two people behind a curtain doing exactly that. And you see him going, that's the famous sexual harassment technique of the land of the samurai. Probably because he wants to learn it himself. Ugh. And you see the powerful man tugs on the sash of the helpless woman, and with each spin, she's not just losing part of the cloth that covers her body. She's losing herself. Hang on, I'm coming to save you now. And you see, and you see, don't you dare, get away from her. And you see, as he smashes through the doors, he lands in a spider's web because he's the dumbest piece of shit alive. And you know, I have to show off how Canadian I am. And you see, oof, and it's like, naughty. He's like, what is this, a spider web? And you see, naughty. And you see, hey, stop that. And you see her spinning around. And it looks like that snake smile user woman we saw at the very beginning of the arc with the one that was like the long neck teaching the little kids. As they're both spinning towards each other, you see the other one looks like, I don't know, some kind of Japanese Oni. I don't know if that's a mask or if that's the actual face. And you see them kind of spinning towards each other with the cloth. And you see a naughty trap. Oh, God. I have suspicions about the other one, but I'll leave that aside for now. And you see as they both just kick Shitji in the face with a woof. And you see his head flying back with blood spurting as he gets wrapped up all in the spider's web and slams down with his face all bloodied. And you have another would-be hero with impure motives. And he's like, oh, damn it was a trap. No shit. Blackleg Sanji from the Straw Hat crew. He's like, ooh, a bounty of 330 million berries. You're big time. And he goes, untie me right now and I'll let you go. I'm in a hurry. Oh, how scary. He's trying to threaten us. And you see Black Maria off to the side, just casually laying about. As she goes, what a boor. You want to turn our banquet hall into a battlefield? Well, I happen to have a soft spot for boys with rough edges. What do you say? Do you like me too? And Shitji is just like, boy, don't insult me. Untie me. You want the truth? The truth is, I love you. You have a twing and an eek. Oh, God, I just. Elsewhere on the third floor, and you have Jim Luffy asking, "Where did Chichi go?" Jinbei's like, "I don't know. He rushed off with a ferocious look in his eyes." Oh my fucking God. You see on the next play, Master Poker, the Straw Hats are heading your way. And you see Korishiro, stop dropping banana bits on me. And you see Mizurka, Gorilla Smile Fruit, headliner Animal Kingdom Pirates. And you see this woman that's kind of like absorbed half into a gorilla with the arms and like part of her hip stuck into it. And you have, well, we already let Kid get past. It's like, but look at Straw Hat. He's worth 1.5 billion. That'll more than make up for failing earlier. I can already see my promotion to Toby Ropo. Not bad, not bad. You see headliner Animal Kingdom Pirates Poker, Rattlesnake Smile Fruit. And you see that both of this guy's legs are just various snake parts. He's got snake coming out of his shoulders as well. And you got Straw Hat over here. There's a Koge. You guys were at Udon. And you see a handmade. So stupid. A handmade ladder? That's right. The stairs are swarming with enemies. You can get up to the 4th floor with this. Thanks. This is a huge help. You see, hey, where are they? You see, they got diverted up to the 4th floor because the samurai just slammed a hole in the ceiling and made a way through with a ladder. Whatever. And you see performance floor inside the dome. Big Mom's heading toward the roof, and you see Big Mom just flying off on Nimbus Cloud style. See, you see a swish. She's like, thank goodness that Haig is leaving. I thought she was going to wreak havoc. And after she flies up there, Zoro's kind of watching her, and he looks curiously. You see a crack and a rah! And you see that way, after Apu, grab the antibodies. As a bunch of samurai are running away. And you see something's falling through the roof toward him. And he falls with a thwud. And you see Bazumasa! And you see the big rabbit Yakuza guy doing yeah as he's fully turned into an ice oni and he's smashing around. You have Chopper, where are you going? He's like, wait up, please. And you see Brooke chasing afterwards. You have yeah! And a mwah! Better run, Apu! And a gra! Oh man, alright, so Zoro's looking around and he's getting pissed. And you see one of the ice onis tries to attack him and he just casually just slices him in half before he goes. And you see Drake just hammering on Apu. And Apu goes, whoa, enough of you, Drake. And you see Zoro taking his pose to do the attack. As he does his famous, was a Shishishon Lion Song attack. And this is a badass panel, I'll admit. You see the next page, Apu just gets sliced as Zoro sheathes his sword. And you see Drake just looking on in complete surprise as the antidote just goes flipping out of Apu's hand. Zoro just catches it one-handed. And you see a huh? And a thud. And then Apu! And you see all the gifters just freaking out. As Zoro heads over to Chopper, gives him the antidote. And he goes, can you handle this floor now? You'll live, right? Chopper's like, of course. I already figured out how this... virus works. I have David Spade going, I'm here, all my place. All right, good to see you here. Not going to miss it this week. Cliff said, I don't think you'll enjoy this chapter, but I'm most interested in your thoughts and theory for what's to happen with whatever happens at the end. Yeah, honestly, this chapter did not start off with the best opening, but we'll see how the rest of it goes. Because I saw a bunch of people on my timeline talking about how good it was, which is usually not a great indication of anything, but we'll see how that goes. And Damon says, wow, I live for that sigh from Ash. I mean, honestly, we're going to have to talk about Shitji, even though I do not want to talk about him. And even though people think I'm obsessed with talking about him, I do not want to talk about him. We're going to have to talk about him at the end. And then a good fan Farrakhan's like, I actually liked it was an obvious trap. And still he totally fell for it like an idiot. Like, so many people when they try to defend Sanji, like, oh, he's got this wicked observation hockey. Like, oh, it's so badass they can sense when a woman is in trouble. And the shithead just runs straight into a trap that just makes it so obvious it's a trap. Like, I don't even know. And Farragut's like, yeah, that Zoro panel was badass. Have to admit, see, this is like gives me the vibes of like pre-time skip when it used to be good. I'm just like, oh, I live for these kind of moments. And you have Zoro kind of smiling down brotherly at Chopper again. I like that panel of him going, "Knew you would." You have Chopper going, "Listen up, everybody. Use fire." So stupid. Oh my god, this is so unbelievably stupid. Oh my god, I needed that laugh. You have use fire on the ice Oni. You know this is like Pokemon. Fire is strong against ice. You have this virus is fused with a gas that chills the body. Just look at me. Once you stop the chilling of your body, the virus won't reproduce. I'll make enough antibodies for everybody. Oh my god, honest. This is just the stupidest ass reveal ever. And you have Brooks hold up a little torch behind Chopper so he can melt it. Yeah, Damon Spade going Chopper with that Pokemon logic. Yeah, like honestly, I don't know what the hell to even make of it. We'll talk about that at the end as well, but like, oh my god. If my exact reaction to that Chopper diagnosis is like, oh, he's so proud of himself. Like, he's so adorable and cute, but so stupid. It's like I forgot about that line, Lamau. And Jeff, I'm a doctor. I'll save anyone, friend or foe. It's like, huh? And you see some of the gifters be like, are you for real? It's like, so hang in there. Don't fall victim to a heartless creep like him. Scenes, we're going to have surprisingly a lot to talk about this chapter. And you see Queen up on top going, I'll show you, you little Rapoon, as he's hoisting up his bazooka. And you, Apu, pathetic. I'll blast you both to... And you see, Aee! As Queen just reels back and you see the bazooka just exploding. And you see, what is this? Oh, you see Zoro just standing below pointing his sword going, what is this stupid game about? I didn't come all the way to this island to waste time on a bunch of nonsense. And they say Kaido's the toughest guy in the world, so I'm here to slice him into pieces. All the Zoro fanboys are just going to go crazy, or going to lose their marbles over this one. He's like, yeah! Whoa, what's going on? His fury caused an earthquake. Oh my god. I can't stay on my feet. And then you have Brooke be like, is it hockey? The color of the Supreme King? What have you done, you beastly man? And Zoro's like, I didn't do this. And Robin goes, I know how you feel, Zoro. I saw it too. I saw what fell through the hole in the ceiling. That was Okiku's arm. And you see Kiku's arm just lying there limply on the ground. And Zoro goes, we got a late start. I wish I could just fly right up there. But neither route will be that simple. You see King and Queen just kind of glaring down at him. You have Straw Hats. You see Marco the Phoenix. He's like, yep, that's me. Marco the Phoenix, to the rescue. He goes, you guys are the real muscle. What are you doing stuck on this floor? Need my help with anything? Boy. So Damon Space says, Zoro cuts Kaido confirmed. Oh, the Zoro fanboys are going to have a field day with this chapter being like, oh, Oda confirmed Zoro has Conqueror's Haki. Oh, Oda confirmed that Zoro's going to take down Kaido. Like, because those theories have been around since like the start of this arc, and it's just going to make them like amped up on this. Kiku keep him a helping hand. That's good. It's like facts setting it up for 1,000 possibly. Yeah, well, we'll talk about that once we get to the end. We see what everything else is happening. And you see Tama still running away with Nami. Is like, what's this shaking about? And Tama's like, I'm scared. I mean, I'm not scared. And you see Koma Inu going, woof. And you have Luffy going, isn't it an earthquake, Jinbei? And he goes, it's an odd island, but... And you see, the island is shaking. Help, this has never happened before. And you see, we can't surface right now. Gotta move away from Onigashima for the moment. Okay, I had a thought. I highly doubt that's what's going to be the case. But I'm like, oh, Earthquake is Blackbeard. Is Blackbeard now going to show up and be like, ha 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 ha, as he's doing his own Earthquake thing? But I don't think that's going to be it. That would be bonkers if it was. I don't think that's going to be it. And you see, we can't service right now. Gotta move away from Onigashima for the moment. As you see Zoro, or not Zoro, Lost Submarine kind of just making its way through all this rubble that's falling off Onigashima. And Jeff, well, that's not good. Now we can't join the fight. You see Black Maria going so impatient. And Hero Girl's like, is the island sinking? And you see port area outside the dome. And Jeff, so your life is a top priority, Momonosuke. Let's go on a ship and move away from the island. And you see, as you see Yamato carrying both Momo and Shinobu away. Yeah, there are no Animal Kingdom ships. What? And there's no sea. It's like, huh? What does that mean? And you see, I was too late. There's no escape to sea anymore. It's like, that's what this shaking's about. And Momo was like, what's happening, Yamato? And he goes, dragons fly through the air by creating something called flame clouds. Meaning, oh my God. Oh, boy. This is so dumb. You see, Kaido sent Onigashima itself aloft. It's like, huh? He's going to move the entire island to the flower capital. What? And you see this like weird smoke just wreathing all of Onigashima as all of it's just been lifted completely out of the sea. And you have on top of the skull, you have Kaido going, are you satisfied yet? Kozuki is finished. Wano, or more accurately, New Onigashima, will become a pirate stronghold. Let us begin the world of violence. Oh, again, love Kaido, like badass posture and everything else is very menacing. But I'm not sure how to feel about this whole like he's moving Onigashima. But we'll talk about that. As usual, I'll go from the start to the end with thoughts and everything else. Looks like we're going to be on break next week, which should be a lot of fun. All right, so, God, the shit-G stuff. All right, everyone already kind of knows my thoughts and opinions on him as a character, so I don't think we really need to get too much into that. I don't really have too many thoughts either on like the stupid gag, like, all right, yes, Oda making another, reference or joke to, Japanese culture. That's all fine. But the funniest thing about this entire setup is Oda trying to pretend like Sanji is, aghast at or can't believe that, there's sexual harassment here and like, oh, how dare this person do that to this innocent woman? And he's like trying to play up like, oh, he's such a chivalrous white knight. He's like, oh, he's going to go try and rescue the woman. Like, oh, he didn't run off because he's a shameless pervert and all that. And the sad thing is, like, a bunch of Sanji stans will buy into this bullshit that Oda's selling. And a lot of people kind of buy into that as well. Except it doesn't fly if you even think back remotely to anything Sanji's done, in which he himself has committed, like, numerous instances of sexual harassment. Punk Hazard kind of being the prime example, where he was molesting Nami against her will, making plans with Brooke to try to run off with her body so they could take pictures of her. He used his freaking Germa suit, putting aside his pride and whatever, to save his friend, supposedly. And he used the suit's invisibility powers the first chance he got, to go spy on women and violate their privacy. So, without even like an ounce of self-awareness, Oda trying to pull this whole like, oh, look at Sanji, he's such a gentleman, look what he's trying to do. It just reeks of so much hypocrisy with him trying to be like, oh no, he's actually super noble this time. He's not a bad guy. Like what was the point of this scene? Like, I know, like, at this point, I have to wonder if Oda does not really understand that all the shit that he makes Sanji do constitutes harassment, or he just doesn't care. And he's like, ha ha ha, I'll be able to slip this past people. And it's just like, I'm wondering, he's like, trust me, the Sanji fans are defending this. Him in this chapter is always lol. Like, yeah, that doesn't surprise me. I saw so much of that coming across my timeline. And I don't want to waste too much time in this video talking about like the hypocrisy of that, because I honestly want to do a video at some point kind of talking about, Sanji's chivalry and how a lot of fans kind of excuse and overlook his overt misogyny just because they're like, oh, well, he's a nice guy, he's a good chef, he overlooks the stuff. Like, we'll have to have a conversation about all that. But Erico's like, at least they pointed out Sanji was a would-be hero with impure motives. Like, yeah, my only problem is I'm like, I really hope this doesn't go in the direction of what happened with Viola and Pudding before this, where Sanji's like, oh, he runs into an obvious trap, and the women are like, ha ha ha, what a loser, he's such a pervert, what a useless piece of shit. And then somehow, because he's so pure and innocent and noble, there's something like, oh, you nice man, like, oh, no one's ever treated me like this, oh, you're the first person that's all been nice to me. Like, if Oda tries to spin this as like, oh, Sanji supports sex workers and whatnot, like everyone else does, and he's the only one that's been supportive of Black Maria being a sex worker and he doesn't discriminate against her, I do not buy that for even a single second. Sanji is a turf. You cannot convince me otherwise. And Sanji is definitely a swerve against sex. That's a sex exclusionary or sex worker exclusionary radical feminist. You cannot convince me either of those things are not true. So I really hope that's not going to end up being the case for what happens with this. That said, the one with the weird like Oni mask, like the black teeth, like the weird face and everything, kind of gave off like Eva vibes as like potentially being an Okama. Again, that's another thing where I'm like, I don't want shitty ass jokes about that coming into play. And I know a lot, like way too many people were saying, like, oh, what if this is Sanji going to be turning around? Like, what if he's finally going to, embrace Okama Kenpo and fight Black Marinas? Like, what if he's finally going to do that? Like, no, there is no world in which any of that ends up ending well in any regard. Like, there's no way that is not going to be problematic in how Oda handles it. And even though, he has potentially given us two transgender characters that he has to date not mocked or had Sanji be openly transphobic towards, I'm still not willing to give him the benefit of the doubt and assume he's going to handle this well. So we're going to have to wait and see, but honestly, I am not expecting good things from this. That said, it was really hilarious when Black Maria just calls him a boy rather than a man. I'm like, yeah, he is a boy. He is not a man. That is a good call right there. But yeah, honestly, worst part of the chapter, one of the worst parts of Wano, whatever. The gags with like the smile headliners. It's amusing to an extent, but this is like if we saw, like back on Water 7 where we had, the judge, the judge that was like best friends or whatever, and was like pretending to be the three-headed guy. I feels like if we got that just times 10, just drop randomly into the chapter for some reason. Like, I know Oda said before that, he doesn't like to have, like, he likes to do different tonal shifts throughout his manga. Like, he doesn't want every chapter to be all serious or all drama or all comedy or whatever. He likes to mix it up. But it just feels like so weirdly out of place in here. It's like, serious, serious, serious. Okay, joke, serious, serious, serious. Again, it feels like this is him just going like, oh, I have to do the checkbox. I have to have this comedy bit in this chapter. I guess I'll just insert it in here as a page break, whatever. Which brings us to the Zoro moment which I have mixed feelings on. On the one hand, easily my favorite moment of the chapter. I love the shadowing on that panel where he's finished the attack and you see half his face just in shadow. Badass Zoro, like it reminds me of why I used to love his character in the first place. Everything about it was awesome. I like that we're kind of moving away from the stoic, cold badass Zoro, who's kind of just quippy but didn't really kind of show or express any emotions, like the range of emotions he used to have post time skip. So I love that we're finally starting to see the more human aspects of him, like the more humanistic aspects of his character. That said, if he was able to so quickly and easily end Apu, and it was just like him being like, oh, I just wasn't serious at this point, and he could have ended it at any time. It kind of annoys me that it took until Kiku's arm fell down and he's just like, oh shit, man, now things are getting serious. Like, oh, and this is something that's been annoying me since the start of one. I've kind of commented on before, where the Straw Hats haven't taken Kaido or his forces seriously up to this point. And then they suddenly seem like startled or surprised when they suddenly find out, like, oh, hey, shit could go really bad for us. Like, we could actually die or get hurt or killed here. We have to take it serious if we're actually going to win. And it suddenly seems to just like click for them at this point. And Oda, again, this is a thing where Oda's trying to pretend like, these are actual lasting consequences that are not going to be fixed. Except he did the same thing, in Dressrosa, where we thought the same thing, like, oh my god, Law got his arm chopped off. Things are getting serious now. And by the end of the arc, Oda just kind of reversed everything. And the Straw Hats just went back to acting like, things were normal again and doing this exact same mistakes, taking things lightly like they do every arc. So it's a little bit irritating for Oda again to try to pull those moments out for when he wants, tension and drama. And then the moment it passes and everything's done, he's like, all right, everything's reversed. We're going back to normal. None of this really matters anymore. So it's kind of annoying to me that he keeps repeatedly doing that when we know it's not going to last very long. David Spade said, oh God, Sanji's saving Black Maria is the worst thing that could happen now. Like, I want to hope that it's not going to end that way, but we've had like 3 separate instances now, I think, where we've had, Sanji shows woman a little bit of respect and suddenly woman just like fawns all over him. Like, I hope that's not the way it's going to go, but honestly, Oda's track record kind of speaks for itself. And David said Zoro Punk Hazard tells Luffy to be serious, and now Zoro needed Kiku's arm to actually get serious. Yeah, no, because I was thinking about earlier this arc, pretty sure there was a moment on Wano where Zoro's kind of like when they're infiltrating the party in the first place. And was like Zoro cuts down like a wall or something and smashes his way in, and he's telling Luffy off for Luffy having like beaten up all the goons for spilling the food or whatnot. And he's like, oh, Luffy, why aren't you taking this seriously, man? You need to be serious. And for Zoro to do that and now be like, oh shit, Kiku's arm is like, why am I goofing around down here? It just annoys me, and I wish Oda would just commit to the Straw Hats getting serious when they need to, because I don't mind them, joking around, having fun, or Luffy doing silly shit like, Gomu Gomu UFO or whatnot. Because every time I criticize the fact that they aren't taking it seriously, fans will always leap in and defend it by being like, well, Luffy's not a serious guy. That's just how he is. You have to get used to it. Because they seem to think that I want him to become just like stone-faced and just serious all the time, never cracks a joke again, it's all business all the time. Like, no, I'm not saying that, but there's a time when you have to be serious and, actually take shit seriously, and there's times when you can goof around and mess around. Like, the Crocodile Alabasta fight's a perfect example of where Oda had the perfect kind of blend of that, where Luffy was being kind of his typical self, with Water Luffy and doing like all this stupid, ridiculous shit that was making Crocodile mad. But at no point during that was he never not serious. about the fight or about needing to take Crocodile down. So it's not that you can't have those two kind of opposing ideals. Those it's not that those two opposing ideals can't blend together and function together. It's just that Oda seems to have forgotten how to do that, and I don't know what the reason for that is, but it is super irritating. But that aside, it was still one of the better moments. I just hope we get more of those going forward for the other Straw Hats. I'd like to see a little bit more of the old One Piece kind of coming back. That's it. That Chopper scene, like, I don't know if Oda was trying to like embody the spirit of Punk Hazard and try to get the same emotional response of like, oh, Chopper's a doctor and he's been kind of affronted by what Queen's doing. Because that's the other thing. I've commented about this on Twitter specifically. Like on Punk Hazard, on Thriller Bark, Chopper used to be viscerally angry when he saw, someone that claimed to be a healer or a doctor or a scientist engage in, atrocious behavior like human experimentation, or torturing souls, whatever, because it went against, the doctor's code of ethics and what he kind of stands for. Yet with Queen, like Oda keeps continually treating Queen as a joke, and I don't know if it's because like ha ha ha, look, Queen's a chunky guy, ha ha ha, fat people are supposed to be funny, ha ha ha, typical Oda bullshit, or if he's like waiting for something, and I don't know what that something is. But there's never been a sense from Chopper throughout all of Wano that he's, furious or mad about the inhumane things that Queen has done, the kinds of plagues he's coming up with. There never seems to be a sense of like righteousness or anger from Chopper regarding that. And this seems kind of a perfect example of that, where he's just like, ha ha, look, guys, I made a cure. Don't worry about it. Aren't I a great doctor? Like, where's the anger, man? Like, where's the righteousness? Like, what happened to Chopper, who used to be like affronted by these things, and now is just kind of like, yeah, it's a plague, but don't worry, guys. I'm the world's greatest doctor, so I can cure it. Like the feeling I get from this, apart from Queen not living up to his epithet of Queen the Plague, if he can be, if it's so easy to cure. Like on the one hand, yeah, I guess you could defend it as being, well, Chopper's such a great doctor. That's why he's able to, quickly create antibodies and reverse these plagues, because he studied so hard to get to this point where he could do it. That's why. It's not, that Queen is just bad at it. It's just Chopper's better. But it's just Oda's making it look too easy, and it really is diminishing Queen's viability as a threat. And on the other hand, what that means for Chopper's like, all right, the Chopper, at this point, I have to kind of wonder, like, all right, why is Chopper still sailing with the Straw Hats anymore? Because at this point, if he can just cure a plague within minutes of seeing it, having experienced nothing like this before, if he can cure it like that, why does he suddenly need to be the world's greatest doctor anymore? Because he apparently is already the world's greatest doctor that can cure any plague, and he should just go back and just be like, anyone that's got a disease I haven't heard of, just come to me and I will cure these plagues for you. I'm Chopper, the greatest doctor in the world. Like, these moments with Queen's plagues like should be used to kind of compare and contrast him to the Straw Hats and kind of deepen the reader's disdain for his actions and his character, instead of like, ha ha ha, look at the funny fat man. And it could be used to greater effect, kind of increase tension and stakes, rather than just being like, ha ha ha, I'm going to pretend this is serious, but we all know in a chapter from now, like, Chopper's going to cure it easily. Farco goes, yeah, lots of pointless encounter smile users. It's just tiring to read so many chapters with almost no substance. Like, that's the thing. Like, I think I've said this before with regards to, previous chapters, that to an extent, I understand the need to have the Straw Hats encounter, grunts, even if they aren't going to pose any kind of actual legitimate challenge to them. Because having Luffy just run straight up to the roof and face Kaido would be boring. You want to put obstacles in his way to kind of, again, like I say, heighten the stakes and the tension and the impact. So that the reader's kind of anticipating what comes next. And I get that that's kind of like a formulaic thing you kind of have to do for a weekly running series like this. But it feels like Oda's been padding out these last few chapters just so he can reach chapter 1000 to kind of drop whatever, mystical plot point he wants, or like whatever surprise he wants to drop on us. And I know it's kind of like hard. People argue like, oh well, when you read it in volume form, it'll be so much better. But like, I'll again reiterate, I've never felt as bored reading these chapters week to week as I have since I think Dressrosa was the last time I felt like this amount of disdain for reading chapters week to week, with just how much pointless garbage has been kind of fluffed with. And the thing is, like, if I had more emotional investment in the people of Wano, in the Strahd, struggling to get up to the roof, like in this chapter, Zoro's anger is supposed to like resonate with me, to be like, oh, like his anger and his kind of so word I'm looking for. Yes, basically his anger of not being able to get upstairs to the roof where Kaido is on time. Frustration, that's what I'm looking for. It's frustration with not being able to get up there. If Oda had actually bothered to make us invested in, I think a lot of this would land a lot better, because our Zoro's frustration would then become the reader's frustration at, there's so much pointless shit getting in my way when I just want to get to the top and help my friends. But when you know that there's no significant consequence to it, and that there's no, nothing serious is really going to happen, it kind of diminishes a lot of the impact of that. And I don't think Oda really understands it, which is why he keeps kind of throwing it in there, because he's like, following a formula at this point. But I don't know. I'm really, really hoping chapter 1000 changes it, because right now, like, Kaido and his goons are by far the weakest villains in all of the series. Like, Kaido is the only kind of standout because there's enough intrigue around his character to keep him interesting. But Queen is just a joke, and it's not even a funny joke at this point. It's like, ha ha ha, look, reaction phases. King is just like, again, mysterious character we know absolutely nothing about at this point. We're almost 100 chapters into Wano. We know almost next to nothing about Kaido's crew, which I hesitate to say is bad storytelling on Oda's part, because then I know people will be like, oh, well, you haven't seen the full picture yet. You can't make judgments like that. But 100 chapters and we don't know anything about these guys? Like, really? But yeah, again, as much as I love Robin, again, her also being like, oh, I know how you feel, Zoro. It's like, oh, we have to get up, we have to help them. Robin, you at one point in this arc were sitting there casually eating soba with Usopp and Frankie when Luffy was thrown in prison, because that's how seriously you were taking Kaido and his goons. So a little bit hard for me to kind of be like, yeah, righteousness. Marco continues to be a plot device at this point. It's like, I fully expect Marco to just like start flying over all the gifters and everyone else, a la what Mancherry was doing in Dressrosa, and just start like lobbing gobs of his Phoenix Flame at them to start slowing down the spread of the ice oni and like start healing them. I'm like 90% sure that's the direction that's gonna go. Yeah, no, you know what? I have other thoughts regarding Marco's presence here on Wano specifically, but I'll save that for the chapter 1000 video when I talk about kind of expectations for the arc and everything else, once we get a clear idea of what's happening. I feel sad for Law's group, where they always kind of just get sidelined and never get their chance in the spotlight. They're kind of just like, oh man, our captain just leaves us behind all the time, huh? But yeah, Yamato stuff is whatever. I don't really care at this point. Which brings us to so Morning Rain said, I can feel Oda doing something trash with King's character. Yeah, you know what? Let me finish talking about this bit first, because I'll then talk about King, because there's two theories out there that I'm like, you know what? I can't discount the possibility of these theories, and it kind of annoys you because I know it's going to be dumb as hell if this is what happens. We'll talk about King because again, I have ideas regarding King's character and where it could go, but right now we know so little about him. Like it's hard to kind of even speculate on anything. Noda could really throw a curveball out of left field. Demon Space, oh god, that Mantray comparison just gave me a heart attack. Like that's the thing though. Like Mark, just like it just hit me as soon as I read the comment. I'm like, wait, Mark was a healer, right? Like he's a doctor because he was healing all those people back on Whitebeard's Island. I swear, like Chopper's gonna grab Kiku's arm and be like, "Oh, I'm gonna freeze the arm." He's gonna freeze her arm. At the end of the chapter, like they're just gonna stick it back, and then Mark was gonna be like using his healing flame, be like, "Don't worry, I'll reattach your arm for you. No consequences." Like I fully expect that to happen by the end of the arc, which is why it's hard for me to take any of this seriously. But let's talk about Kaido's Onigashima plan. Now, here's again a thing where I'm kind of like in two minds regarding this, because last week a certain someone, highly associated with One Piece and who, has a close connection to Oda, was kind of speculating on what shape the rest of the arc would take, whether Kaido would be defeated here or in Onigashima, on Onigashima or the Flower Capital, because the citizens of Wano have to see him being defeated by Momonosuke, and so do his goons. So you can kind of cement his status as shogun, as a Kozuki, and kind of like regain his reputation and all that. And so he's kind of speculating like, all right, if that happens, how would Kaido get back to the mainland with his crew without Oda kind of reducing the tension or the drama of having the Straws having to find a way back to the mainland and do all that. And he's like, oh, Kaido could just fly his goons over on his dragon form, whatever. So it seems like Oda's answer is no, Kaido's just going to use his mystical fire dragon powers to just move the entire island over there. And to draw another source of comparison, I'm hoping this is not going to be the birdcage of this arc. With what I mean in regards to that is like, I hope this is not going to be a case of like the birdcage or no, where it's like, oh, we have to stop and defeat the villain before he drags the island to the Flower Capital and drops it on. Because this also kind of confuses me with regards to what Kaido's actual goal is with New Onigashima. Because his whole thing right now seems to be like, he's like, oh, I'm going to, drag this island over to the Flower Capital. It's going to be the new Flower Capital. But I'm pretty sure I recall him saying that he was going to enslave the rest of the people of Wano to make them into, slaves to make more weapons for him so he can start this whole war and everything. So I don't know if his plan is to go over the new Flower Capital and just literally just drop the island onto there, killing everyone that's in the Flower Capital right now, and kind of just like smashing in the middle of Wano. Or if he's going to like move the islands apart, drop Onigashima down in between them, and then move it back around surrounding Onigashima. So like Onigashima now is this new centerpiece of Wano. I'm not clear on what exactly he hopes to gain or do with this whole movement. I don't know if it's just because he's like, oh, I want my new base of operations to be, right in the capital. Like, he's already spent most of his time in the Flower Capital anyway, so why does he need to move his base all the way over there? Like, his plan literally makes no sense at this point, like what he's trying to achieve or what his goal is or why he needs Onigashima there. Because earlier I thought like, oh, what if he's moving it there because that's where the waterfalls are and Onigashima's outside of that. But I remember the map and Onigashima's within those waterfalls that kind of like barricade Wano. So there's no real reason for him to move his stupid island all the way across the sea, except for drama. So let's, I guess, kind of go over the different potential scenarios and options with regards to this. Because I think there's a few different kind of ways I could see it going. So one is it is literally the birdcage, the Noah of this arc. where he literally is just going to go fly over the flower capital, drop it down. People are going to die. So the Straw Hats and Co. have to be like, all right, we have to go out to the roof and defeat him before he gets there and kills a bunch of innocent people and whatever happens. That's option number one. I think that would fly with the theories a lot of fans have that this is the climax of the arc, that we're not going to see the Straw Hats lose, and the Kaido is going to go down here. I'm not sure I really like that theory. I feel like the Straw Hats losing and needing to regroup would help reestablish Kaido and his forces as a legitimate threat. Because even right now, even though Luffy's kind of semi struggling to get up the roof, they still haven't established themselves as any kind of actual danger. So I feel like him losing, would be better, especially given how lackadaisical their attitudes have been towards the entire conflict this entire time. So I would hope that's not the direction it's going. The other reason I'm saying that is also more personal stuff is I still do feel like everyone that's going to be involved in this arc is not here yet, because the only one I'm kind of definitively saying has to be here either to witness Kaido's defeat or at least have a hand in it, which I think is more likely, is Gecko Moria. Because it would be kind of odd for Kaido to be defeated, for the Straw Hats and everyone in Water to celebrate, like have a feast and have a party with Kaido, I don't know, like shackled nearby and like sea stone cuffs or whatever. And then for Moria to show up with Blackbeard and be like, oh, hey, now shit's going to start again. It'd be kind of a weird shift to happen. It's not out of the realm of possibility, but I don't think I would prefer that if that was Moria's role. It's literally like, oh, hey, I'm just here to witness Kaido's defeat, and then I'm just going to, go off again for another 500 chapters. So I hope that's not the way it's going. The other way it could potentially go is I kind of want at least half the Straw Hats, at least the powerhouses, to get knocked off of Onigashima into the sea or into a piece of rubble or something, and and see them being forced to make their way back onto the mainland. Because if the other theory is right, if Kaido's just gonna separate, because if he can move a literal island with his dragon powers, lift it up into the sky, I think he can separate out Wano, which we already know is kind of like disparate islands. He can separate it out, plonk Onigashima in the middle of it, and then just kind of push it back together. So in that case, the birdcage would be more so than him kind of like, enslaving, destroying everyone. And that will be kind of the way Oda keeps up the tension, the drama, is, how are the Straw Hats going to get back to the mainland? Because they don't have any ships. All the ships are destroyed. How are they going to get back? I know at this point it's kind of like, it's kind of a little late to kind of speculate on this, but I'm still hoping to see them build those flying blimps. Because I don't know how many of you remember, because remember when they're talking about the Fire Festival, they said, the citizens build like these floating blimp fire lanterns that they set off in the sky as kind of like a celebration of the dead and everything else. I still want to see that come back in some way, because it seems oddly specific to be like, oh, hey, here's the ship blimps that they use to kind of celebrate this festival, and here's a flying dragon that has a floating fortress. I'm sure that's not going to come in, that's not going to be relevant at all. Like, it feels a little bit odd. Which actually makes me wonder, how much effort does it take Kaido to kind of keep the flames surrounding Onigashima? And could he, at least for the duration of this fight, just keep it floating above the flower capital? Like, could the fights and everything take place while it's floating above the flower capital before it gets kind of destroyed? But we'll see if that happens. The other idea I kind of had, and this is the part where I go to the other end and kind of put on my critical analysis theory hat, is I have for the longest time, no, not the longest time, at least the last year, Wondered what shape, if any, the cursed sword like mini arc or hints in Wano would take. Because I've been theorizing like, all right, this is the first time in forever that we've seen Zoro kind of losing control of his temper, losing his cool, and getting super emotional. And it made me wonder, all right, how would that his emotional state potentially be affected by the cursed swords? Would the curse of the sword kind of amplify his bloodlust to the point where the luck that was offsetting the curse up to this point, would his curse be able to overpower the luck and finally lead him to a situation where he could potentially die? Because Zoro's now I think this is the first time ever where he's kind of declared that he wants to take down the final boss. I don't think he's ever actually declared that before. So I wonder if he ends up on the roof as well. Could he end up using Enma? Could Enma like feed on his rage and do that unleashing attack that he first did with it? And would Enma be able to slice the island in half? And if that happened, would that be how the Straw Hats kind of get abandoned out at sea? Is half the island gets chopped up and cut in half, falls into the sea, Kaido floats away with the other half, Straw Hats are stranded out here in the sea, and that's how they have to make their way back to the capital. Because like at this point, with Oda's timeline, odds of him, addressing every single plot point he's brought up is kind of slim to none. But the Cursed Swords one has been around for so long, like literally since the start of the series. And since he's kind of made a point of like specifically addressing it during Wano, with Hitetsu telling Luffy when he made off with Kutetsu the second that, hey, that sword is cursed, don't touch it, bad things will happen to you if you do. And then the fact that bad things did happen to Tama, a bad thing did happen to him where he got knocked out by Kaido and sent to prison. It makes me wonder if Oda is going to like build that up to something also happening to Zoro, especially given how almost out of character it seems for him to be getting this emotional. But that's all speculation at this point. I think it would be really cool to see Enma just coming out, slicing the island in half, and then moving it along. But honestly, there is so many different ways this arc could go. I don't know right now if I can definitively say which way it'll go one way or another. I think by chapter 1000 we will find out though. And I don't know if I mentioned this in my last review chapter reaction. 1000 I feel like is either going to end up with Luffy facing off against Kaido on the roof, because I think this is confirmation now the Scabbards are done for. Completely defeated, they're done for. So I imagine this is going to end up like a Doflamingo Lost scenario where Luffy gets up to the top, sees Bellamy's battered corpses with the samurai, being Bellamy, sees them potentially dead, and that's what kind of angers him and gets him on Kaido's case again. So I wonder if that's where we're going to either see the chapter 1000 ending with Luffy getting up, seeing all the samurai dead, and kind of smirking at him, being like, ha ha ha, you're late, Straw Hat, or whatnot. Or is chapter 1000 going to end with Luffy's second defeat at Kaido's hand, which I think would make for a more satisfying climax and conclusion to chapter 1000, is Luffy getting defeated again and potentially getting punted off of the skull and into the sea. That I would really love to see. We'll have to wait and see what happens. But yeah, and then big final theory bit for that. I expect Zoro, Law, and Kid will probably end up on the roof. Zoro, Law, Kid, and Killer. Possibly Law will all end up on the roof at the same time. And I think Killer and Kid will probably face off against Big Mom. She's also on the roof now. And she'll want revenge for a Kid having sunk her fleet of ships all the way back. Was it during Fishman Island when Tomoko mentioned that? So they'll probably face off against Big Mom. and then Luffy and Zoro against Kaido, and I want to see them get their asses handed to them because I don't think we've seen Luffy getting his ass handed to him multiple times apart from Crocodile. Last little point, Crocodile thing. Just remember the last little point before I wrap this up, because people are asking, because people are kind of saying like, how can you maintain kind of like the drama, the tension, if the Straw Hats get defeated, have to regroup, and then mount another attack on Kaido and his goons. And honestly, that's almost pretty similar to what happened in Alabasta, because Luffy got his ass handed to him by Crocodile 3 separate times, and they moved multiple locations within Alabasta before he's able to finally have that final fight and land the final blow on him. Because we had him in the desert where he first grabbed Vivi off the sand crab. That was his first one. Then he got defeated again on top of the palace where Crocodile did this whole dry him out, toss him over thing. And then he finally had to go chase him down to the underground little tomb, which is where the final kind of conflict happened, where he finally landed the last blow. So I could see the same thing happening with Kaido, where the first defeat was him, getting the shit beat out of him with one strike. Second defeat happens on the top of Onigashima right now when he runs up. And then the third and final one happening, above the Flower Capital, in the Flower Capital, and him finally landing the final blow with Momo's help so that everyone in the Flower Capital sees him being defeated. So I think the reason the tension stuff like worked in Alabasta, apart from, more emotional investment in the characters and everything, was because more of the ticking time bomb was needing to stop, Crocodile's plan of getting all the citizens killed. So doing a variation of that in Wano would, I think, achieve the same effect. So whether it is going to be, like I said, Kaido's going to drop the island right on there and kill everyone, so the Straw Hats get knocked off, and their tension thing is, all right, we have to get back there before Kaido managed to achieve his goal and destroy the rest of the island or whatnot. Or it could be he gets there and they have to stop him before he enslaves everyone and kind of destroys everything. We'll see. Like I said, after either before or after chapter 1000, because since there's a break next week, so we get 998 on the 13th. 20th, we're going to get 999, which will be the last chapter of this year. 26, 27, I think there's going to be Shonen Jump will have their Christmas break. I don't know if the New Year's schedule is going to be either drop a chapter on the 3rd or the 3rd is going to be a break and the next chapter will be the 10th, which I think seems likely. So if chapter 1000 is going to come out tentatively around January 10th or so, depending on what happens in 998 and 999, I'll probably do a speculation video updating my old one about what plot points I still feel like are unaddressed in Wano, how they could potentially be answered or played out, what else could happen, what players still need to be involved, things like that. So depending on how the next few chapters play out, I'll do something along those lines to kind of put my ideas out there. Because honestly, I still get the feeling that if this is literally the climax of the arc, and like in the final fight now, there's no going back after this, I will feel like it's going to be a little bit of a letdown. That's not a given, of course. Oda could do anything, swing it one way or the other if he remembers how to do proper storytelling again, but that's the kind of feeling it gets. I'll have to wait and see. With that said, I think that's all my final thoughts. With regards to the Sanji video I mentioned at the start, I'll start working on it probably during Christmas break, and then I'll probably try to debut it in one of those weeks off in January when the manga's gonna break. I'll probably try to do that video then, but I definitely want to talk about it because it annoys the ever-loving hell out of me how fans act like he's misunderstood, like people don't appreciate Oda's writing or whatever. That's a bunch of garbage. I don't buy it for a second. That said, this was a really fun stream. Really appreciate everyone, jumping into the comments, kind of doing the back and forth. Those are always a lot of fun. Really, really do appreciate it. Like I mentioned in my last video, I'm 15 subscribers away from reaching 150. So I'd really, really love to get to that goal this year. So if you haven't already subscribed, please do. It would mean a lot to me. If you already have, if you know someone else that would be interested in my channel and my content, please let them know. That would be really great as well. As always, like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff. And because there isn't a video next week, I'll probably try to get my Oden one out instead of One Piece. I'll probably try to do that. If not that, I'll probably just do either Lazarus or Battle Angel Alita, because I know a lot of people are kind of wondering what happened to Battle Angel Alita. So to clarify, I have not given up on Battle Angel Alita. I just haven't had time to kind of go through the previous volumes, kind of refresh my memories of stuff that happened. I will definitely get back to it at some point. I just need a little bit of time. I've just been super busy with work and everything else. Haven't had a chance to get around to it. But like I said, you all are the best. Thank you for indulging me every week. Till next time, this is Ash. Talk to you all later.